Okay, we're back. And today we've got Genesis Nursery Cryme. Okay, take a look at that. November 12th, 1971 was the release date. It has 7 songs. It's about 40 minutes long. Produced by John Anthony again, same producer as Trespass. And it's another Genesis album, so art rock, prog rock, whatever you want to call it. All songs written and arranged by Genesis. And the album cover, again, same as Trespass, Paul Whitehead. And what you see here is a drawing or a painting inspired by the very first song on the album called The Musical Box. And it's a couple of ladies playing croquet. And croquet is an old English game where you go play out in the yard. And, you got the club. And see, there's the club, and then you hit the ball, and you got the wickets. Where's the wicket? Right there. There's a wicket. Okay, and then you got another lady here, and it says Nursery Cryme. And you notice it's all very yellow, golden. And on the back, you've got more of the scene here. And on the inside, well, let's see. This is a remaster from the mid-'90s, I'll say. It says Definitive Edition Remaster, and you got the names of the songs there and the track number and the length of the songs. Then on the inside you got a picture of all the Genesis albums that Atlantic or Atco has released. And you'll notice here that the first Genesis album isn't on here because I don't know who owns the rights to it, but people don't even consider that one a Genesis album. But yeah, you got the lyrics and you got some cool pictures in here, and I would imagine Paul did all that too. And the other weird thing about it is the lyrics to the songs, although they're in here, they're not in the right order. So you've got the musical box, and then after that you got Harold the Barrel, and that's not the way it goes. And then 7 Stones for Absent Friends, and then at the end you've got let's see here, the Fountain of Salmacis, and then the Return of the Giant Hogweed. So those are last. So it's not in the right order, but that's okay. It still works, and I can figure it out. Yeah, is there anything to add about that? I don't know. The other weird, let me show you this, because I just thought this was weird when I saw it. It's one of these remasters, so it's a white disc. But look at what it says right here. See CD booklet for details. Jeez, that's just silliness. Okay, anyway, what's the big deal here? It's a Genesis album, so after Trespass, a couple things happen. Number 1, out John Mayhew, in Phil Collins. So Phil Collins is now the drummer. And then out is Anthony Phillips, and in is Steve Hackett. And Steve Hackett is now the lead guitarist of Genesis. And of course, you know that new musicians can cause a stir in a new band. And in this case, it's different. It sounds like Trespass in the sense that it still has that similar folksy feel to it that Trespass has, although there's more folksiness to Trespass. But whenever you got a Peter Gabriel type album, it's a little bit folksy. But what they've done in Crimes here is they dial up a lot more prog, including tempo changes, time changes, and whimsical instrumentals through all the songs. Not all of them, but because a couple of songs are shorter, but the longer songs. And that makes the songs longer and more interesting. And especially if you're a prog guy like me, you like that. You like all that. So there's a couple more points I wanted to get into. There's a point about complexity. Songs like The Musical Box, Hogweed, 7 Stones, and Salmacis, they have a lot going on. Okay, there's dynamic shifts. There's theatricality on the levels of not quite like Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, but you can tell they're heading in that direction already. There's time signatures, there's rhythmic variations, there's instrumentation all out, including Steve Hackett's dynamic guitar playing in parts, and then Banks is playing a lot of mellotron on this album and other organs, and the lyrics and the harmonies, they're all complex, okay? A lot of that going on here. The storytelling. Peter and Phil have ramped up the storytelling on this album even more than on Trespass. And Trespass had a lot of storytelling. This one, all of these songs are telling their own story or narrative. Some of them are funny, like The Musical Box or Hogweed. Some are ridiculous, like Salmacis. and some are tragic, like Harold the Barrel, okay? And then, of course, the new members, you got the guitar tapping of Hackett and Collins on drumming. It's both an upgrade, and you can feel it. Although I'm not saying that the Trespass is not, it's not as good instrument. It's just like Phil and Steve they're really awesome, and you get that here. So the Mellotron, for sure, is huge on this album. I can hear it on Seven Stones, for sure, on Harlequin, and on the Fountains of Salmacis, and it's just, I wouldn't say prominent, but it's there, and you can hear it. Okay, enough of that. I've been talking too much, so let's get into the first track, The Musical Box. It's 10 minutes and 31 seconds. One of the more interesting Genesis songs. There's a lot going on as the song sprawls out over 3 parts and 10.5 minutes long. It's not a pop song, so when I start, all the verses that I describe, they don't sound the same, and the bridge is a term that I'll use loosely here for the track for lack of a better description. There's a flute solo, a guitar solo, and a keyboard solo also in the musical box. It starts in the key of F sharp major, and shout out to musicnotes.com for that one. It's 118 beats per minute and 4/4 time for the most part, although there's time changes all over. Part one, and let's just parse this apart for a second about the song arrangement. Part one is verse, chorus, bridge, instrumental break, solo, and then a chorus. The second part of the song is a guitar solo, a verse, and then a keyboard solo. And then the third part of the song is verse, and then outro, but it's like a lyrical a singing outro and then an instrumental outro. Okay, part one. Dot, 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 dot. The introduction is about 14 bars, and then you go right into the verse. And Peter Gabriel singing these verses. That I may join you with you, all your hearts now seem so far from me. It's 34 bars at that faster tempo of 118. And then the chorus, play me my song, here it comes again, it's 8 bars. The bridge, la 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 la, just a little bit, la 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 la, just a little bit more time, it's 14 bars. And then there's an instrumental break or solo, which runs from 2 minutes and 10 seconds to about 3 minutes and 23 seconds. 1 minute and 13 seconds total. It starts with some nice flute, and then eventually the guitar picks up. It's a really pretty musical passage. And that's the end of part one. Part two starts with the guitar solo, and that runs from 3:39, although that's really, part two starts at 3:39, and the guitar solo runs from 4:12 to 4 minutes and 50 seconds. And the passage starts with dun, dun, dun. That's how you know that you're into part two. But then the guitar solo kicks in at 4:12. And it's a Steve Hackett job. I mean, the verse is after the guitar solo. Old King Cole was a merry old soul, and a merry old soul he was he. It's 14 bars at a slow tempo. And then the tempo picks up for the keyboard solo after that verse. The keyboard solo, the whole part starts at 5:46, although the solo begins at 6:13 and runs to 7 minutes and 40 seconds. And it runs to, after a quick few introduction bars by that band, there's a little harmonic dissonance happening during the solo to make it like a unfamiliar pain to your ears. Just a few bars of that around the 6 minute and 36 second mark. And if you know the song, you know what I'm talking about, because Banks starts playing these notes that are like, it doesn't quite sound right to me. And the tempo is like a galloping horse type tempo during that solo. And then that's the end of part two. The third part of the song is the final part. It's a verse. She is a lady, she's got a time, brush back your hair, and she's got time. It's 14 bars. And then the second verse is a little bit different. Like I said, all these verses are different. They don't all sound the same from one another. I've been waiting here for so long, and all this time has passed me by. It's 20 bars. And then there's like a 2-part outro. So there's the now part that starts at 9:15, and it goes for 24 bars. And then there's the instrumental outro, which starts at 9 minutes and 57 seconds till the end of the song. And that's the first song, The Musical Box. And I don't know, I guess you're supposed to think about these ladies playing croquet and probably murdering people. Track 2 is For Absent Friends. It's a short tune at 1 minute 47 seconds. Sounds like Phil Collins on lead vocals. And that's what it says in the credits, but actually it's difficult for me to tell the difference between Phil and Peter. They sound very similar. And the other thing is no percussion in the song, or at least none that I can make out, maybe very light percussion. It's in the key of D major with parts in B minor, which is it's really the minor variant of D major is B minor. And shout out to Genesis Piano Transcriber on YouTube, who went through and built a piano score for it. And I love watching that. I mean, I love when you can watch the notes go across the screen as the music's playing. That's so cool. It's 120 beats per minute in 4/4 time. The verse is Sunday at 6 when they close both the gates, a widowed pair still sitting there. It's 16 bars. And then the bridge is passing by the padlocked swings, the roundabout still turning. It's 8 bars. And then this song has very simple song structure. It's just verse, bridge, and wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. It's over in 1 minute and 47 seconds. No percussion. Track 3 is the return of the Giant Hogweed. It's an epic track at 8 minutes and 12 seconds. Has a terrific intro that lasts about 35 seconds. Triplet, 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 triplet. And then the song arrangement is verse, chorus, bridge, and a break, which includes a flute solo and a guitar solo, and then an outro. It's in the key of B flat major. Shout out to YouTuber Electric Hob, who also did the same thing. A musical score, note by note, of the return of the Giant Hogweed. It must have been a huge ordeal for him to do that. Or her. It could be her. But they shout out to Electric Hob. 142 beats per minute. Most of the song is in 12/8 time or 9/8 time. That's why more triplets. And it's really fun to watch the music play and score at the same time. And triplets galore, like I said. The verses turn and run. Nothing can stop them around every river and canal. It's 17 bars. And by the way, I had to count that and pause and rewind and make sure I got it right. But it's actually enjoyable for me to do. The chorus is, they are invincible. They seem immune to all our herbicidal batterings. It's 8 bars. And then there's a bridge. The bridge is long ago in the Russian hills a Victorian explorer found. It goes on for 32 bars. And this is after that is when the breaks and the solos start. So from 4:14 to 6 minutes and 33 seconds, or about 2 minutes and 19 seconds total of triplets and solos all mixed together. It starts with the flute solo, and around the 5 minute and 37 second mark, the guitar solo starts. The outro is Mighty Hogweed is avenged, human body soon will know our anger. Starts at around 6 minutes and 33 seconds to the end of the song. So almost 1.5 or 2 minutes. The instrumental outro advance starts at 7:03. There's a key change to C sharp major, 7 sharps in the key signature for about 40 bars for the outro. Dun, dun, dun. It does that. And cool song. And sort of funny, but controversial too, in the fact that the humans are fighting an invasive species. I usually don't dive too deeply and dig into the lyrics, but the nature of the way they tell these stories is always interesting to me. Track 4 is called 7 Stones. I wonder why they didn't make it track 7, but it's not. It's track 4. It's 5 minutes and 11 seconds. In the intro, you can hear that mellotron, and the verses are Peter Gabriel singing, and Phil Collins is lead vocals on the bridges. The song arrangement is intro, verse, bridge, instrumental break, verse, bridge, outro, and it's in the key of G minor, according to Chordify.com, so shout out to them. I use them a lot, actually. It's 70 beats per minute in 4/4 time. The intro, I heard the old man tell his tale. It's about 19 seconds. And then the verse is when the fun begins. Tinker alone within a storm and losing hope he clears. It's 32 beats. Not bars, beats. I had to count out every beat because of the it's not always in 4/4, it changes. So it's 32 beats, which is 8 bars, but it's not all 4/4. So you just have to imagine there's some 2/4 or 5/4 bars or 6/4 bars stuck in there in the middle of it. The bridge is despair that tires the world brings the old man laughter. It's another 58 beats or about 14 and a half bars in 4/4. So I think what they've done is like there's like a 6/4 bar or a 2/4 bar in there. The instrumental break runs from 209 to 235. It features a flute, and it's a very short solo, not even 20, what is it, 26 seconds. And the outro has this huge sweeping mellotron part. It lasts about 70 seconds or so, and it's so powerful and beautiful. Shout out to Tony Banks for that one. Track 5 is called Herald the Barrel. It's 3 minutes long. Lead vocals by Peter and Phil. This is the fast tempo happy song on the album, even if the content is a bit doomy and gloomy. It's about a guy that wants to jump off a building, I guess. It's in key of E flat major. Shout out again to Electric Hob on YouTube. So thanks again for providing the piano score. And note to note, I mean, it's awesome. 120 beats per minute in 4/4 time. This is a story with a narrator, a newsman, a man on the street, a man on the spot, a man on the council, the Lord Mayor, the British public, Harold, Mr. Plod, and then the 67-year-old Mrs. Barrel, who must be Harold's mom, I guess. And it's weird because it's like one of those songs where people are talking. So it's not really like, it's kind of like verse, 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 chorus, but the verses are 8 bars if you want to call them verses, and then the chorus is the part of the song where it's, you just can't jump, da, 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 da. You just can't jump, or you can't last long, da, 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 or he can't go far, da, da. It does that, and those are always 4 bars, and that's pretty much the Harold the Barrel song. And like I said, it's kind of like a funny piano ditty, except it's not a it's not funny content. Track 6 is called Harlequin. It's 2 minutes and 56 seconds, another one of the shorter tunes. And they're all singing, Phil, Peter, Tony. This song features vocal harmonies, fast tempo, and almost zero percussion again. Key of D major, and shout out to Fabio Geduso on YouTube, who did the same thing as Electric Hob. He scored it, played it on piano, and you can listen to it and watch it. It's 150 beats per minute in 4/4. The song structure is very simple: a verse, chorus, outro. There's no solos. The verse is, came the night, a mist dissolved the trees, and in the broken light colors fly fading by. It's 30 bars. And then the chorus, all always the same, but there appears in the shades of dawning, about 10 bars long. And then the outro is 2:25 to the end, about 31 seconds. Bub, interesting sounding song. The final track on the album is track 7, The Fountain of Salmacis, 7 minutes and 54 seconds. It's verse, bridge, instrumental verse, bridge, instrumental verse, bridge, instrumental verse, outro. That's the song arrangement, and it's in key of G major. Shout out to Colin Smith on YouTube, who provided the piano score to this. And I see some key changes and chords in there that required some further analysis, but it was moving too fast for me, so I'm just going to skip it. The tempos are in 100 beats per minute and 150 beats per minute, and in 4/4 time. This is a story as told by Ovid in Metamorphosis, which is an old Roman book that I studied way back when I was in community college back in the day. There's a narrator and Hermaphroditus, and then Salmacis. These are the 2 characters of the story. Hermaphroditus is the son of Aphrodite, aka Venus, goddess of love, beauty, and pleasure. And Hermes is the father, aka Mercury. Hermes is like the herald, the messenger god, but he's also a bit of a trickster. So Hermaphroditus, take the name Hermes and Aphrodite, and you get Hermaphroditus. That's the name of the god, okay? And then Salmacis is a girl, a Naiad nymph. And a nymph is like in Greek and Latin, it's like a lady that lives by a body of water or a tree or and is typically a virgin, but I don't know if that's part of this or not. But Salmacis fell in love with Hermaphroditus upon watching him bathe in the lake. And that's the story that's being told here. there's a big burst of mellotron at 5:53, and then you can hear it all the time from then on throughout the song. And that's sort of, this is like the big prog epic on the album. Is it the longest song? It's not the longest, but it's close. Because the other song is like 10 and the other one is 8. But just about 8 minutes long. At the intro has a both a haunting and beautiful mellotron feel to it. It's about 34 seconds long. And then you go into the first bridge. From a dense forest of tall, dark pinewood, Mount Ida rises like an island. It's about 10 bars, and it's mainly the narrator, Peter singing the narrator's part. And then the rest of the song is like narrator, Hermaphroditus, and then Salmacis talking back and forth. The bridge part of the song is, as the dawn creeps up in the sky, the hunter caught sight of a doe. It's 12 bars. And then after that, you've got those verses and bridges of Salmacis and Hermaphroditus and the narrator communicating back and forth, all nestled in between these three instrumentals and the outro. Okay, so I'm going to focus on those instrumentals now for a minute. The first instrumental, and these are quick, by the way. They're not like really long, but the fact that there's three of them and then a long, big outro, that's what makes up this song. That's what makes the song cool, okay? The instrumental, the first one runs from 1 minute and 55 seconds to 2 minutes and 26 seconds. So it's a quick 30 seconds, but you get a bit of everything in there. You get flute, and then you get guitar, and then you get mellotron. The second instrumental runs from 3 minutes and 20 seconds to 4:10, so about 50 seconds long total. It starts with arpeggiated guitar triplets, the Steve Hackett thing. And then at 3 minutes and 49 seconds, this big thumping bass and mellotron kick in. And that changes the song. The third instrumental runs from 4 minutes and 56 seconds to 5 minutes and 55 seconds. So about a minute long. And it's more, I wouldn't say it's a solo, but it's real keyboard-driven jamming. And that also is a huge change up from the song of what it was to what it's becoming. And all the while, the lyrics are weird, so I want to go back because I want to read to you what they're singing. Salmacis, who is the Salmacis is singing, "We are the one, we are the one," and Salmacis is essentially trying to rape Hermaphroditus, and in doing so, they get sucked into the lake and they become one, and that's where the word hermaphrodite comes from, because they have both male and female. They're just one. It's just one being. It's one being. Do I have to explain it anymore? I don't, like I said, I don't like digging into the lyrics too much, but that's kind of like, you can't ignore it on a song like this. It's like the main part of the song. The outro is the end of the song, features a big typical Steve Hackett kick-ass guitar lead. And that's, I think it's about a minute long, but I forgot to make a note, but it's sort of like what you hear in a Firth of Fifth. It has that feel to it, the way he holds notes extended, and Steve Hackett is the man. I'll just leave it at that. Like verse bridge instrumental, verse bridge instrumental, verse bridge instrumental, verse outro. That's the tune. Awesome song. The Fountain of Salmacis. Okay, now the big ending. The sales for this album, 160,000 certified. That's not so great. It was number 124 in the year it came out. It was number 19 overall for Genesis, and it's gold. So the 160,000, how do we know that? Well, it went gold in France, and to do that, you have to have 100,000. That's in 1978 is when it made gold. So it took 7 years for it to make gold. And then silver in the UK, but it didn't make silver until 2013. That's not that long ago. That's only 12 years ago. Nobody's listened to this. I don't know how many Americans have listened to this, but it hasn't charted in America. So it peaked at number 39 in the UK in 1974. So think about that for a minute. Almost 3 years after it was released is when it got to its highest charting position. Maybe that was from touring or word of mouth, but um, that's a long time. I think that's very unusual. Progarchives.com has a 4.42 score. And you know how they do the scores. It's weighted based on the number of users and which users are actually scoring it. 4.42 is very high. That's very high. It's 56% 5 stars, which is like wowzers, and then 34% of those are 4 stars. And I usually look, but that's one of the higher rated Genesis albums. Trespass has a high score too, and some other ones do. Selling England by the Pound, I think, is number 2 on the list. That's probably more like a 4.6. But very awesome scores. Allmusic.com gives it a 3.5, and their writer Stephen Thomas Erlewine, a quote, "Too much instrumental indulgence, yet there's a charm to this indulgence since the group is letting itself run wild." And then he continues, "Part of the charm is hearing them test out its limits," unquote. And I mean, I think for proggers like me and you, that's why we like the album. We like we like all the instrumentals. We like the big mellotron. We like the weird tempos and the triplets and the solos and the flute. And I'm not so big on the Peter Gabriel storytelling, although the storytelling's interesting. I think his lyrics are, for me, they're cuckoo. On Trespass too, I have a hard time with getting into Peter's lyrics. But his singing is good, and Phil is even a better singer, and you can hear Phil's voice a lot on this album. So, excellent album. I don't know if I'd give it a 4. Maybe I would maybe 3.5, 4 stars. Maybe that is right. I mean, 4.4 is very high though from Prog Archives. Rolling Stone, the new album guide from 2004, they gave it a 2. And, they hate prog, basically. And their writers, they must all hate prog. And all it says in the quote is, offers grim play for Mother Goose Tales in the 10-minute musical blocks. That's, And, if you're Rolling Stone and you only like Chuck Berry and, you like Elvis and Chuck Berry and the Beatles and Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers and real pop stuff. And I'm not dissing that stuff, but then you're not going to love Genesis or Rush or Porcupine Tree or any of the stuff that we like. So, they're going to give it a low score, but really nobody cares. But I always like to look that up just to see what they say about stuff. Anyway, that's it for Nursery Cryme. Cool album, cool cover, and it's been fun to listen to. I'm in a big Genesis stage. This is one of their better ones. A lot of their records I don't really love. I like this better than Trespass. And so we'll leave it at that. Next up on the channel, after Nursery Cryme, I'm going to do Kiss Gene Simmons. In fact, I'm going to go work on it now. I might even get it done today because Kiss albums are so easy to do. They're so easy. And then after that, I'll do Genesis Foxtrot. Maybe I'll do that one tomorrow. I'm out. Thanks.